Hello all, welcome back to Brad Fab Garage. We've got some stuff to do this evening. The transmission is back and fully rebuilt and ready to go. Gear vender's clean and ready to go. Got the converter over here filling it back full of fluid so we can get this little jewel in and ready. And then we're going to get everything back in the car. So I'm going to make some changes. I've always had a little bit of a vibration, and I think I've narrowed it down to what's going on. With my transmission fairly level and about 2 degrees down by the tail shaft, by the time it gets all the way to that gear vendor, it's a little bit more. So, and basically what's happened is the transmission yoke is lower than the rear end yoke. So this is actually a little bit higher, so it has about 3 degrees uphill to get to the rear end. So I did build a spacer. I bought a Reman cross member for the Turbo 400, and before I was stacking about four washers underneath the rubber motor mount right here to the cross member, and still wasn't getting it up all the way. So what I did, I went ahead and built a 1-inch spacer that will bolt through. Oop, dropping bolts. And it still allows it to have some adjustability left to right. So I'm hoping that's about 1/4 of an inch, and 1/4 of an inch all the way at the back of that gear vendor is barely even moving the motor. But what I'm going to have to do, this motor with the Holley turbo manifolds, I've got this unhooked, and this dude right here will support that motor with no bell housing in it, and it holds the whole thing up. So once I make a little adjustment to the transmission, I'll have to go through and make a little bit of an adjustment here to make it fit on the manifolds right here. So I might have to, you can see where I've made an adjustment here whenever I move the motor back over into the small block motor mounts instead of the big block motor mounts. Had to add a little here. So I might have to tweak this again once I make my transmission mount modifications and line that out. So not that big of a deal, but whatever I can get to get everything pointed in a straight line instead of uphill and downhill, that's what I'm going to do. So I've got to get the converter in the transmission and then mount the gear vendor on the back of this dude, and then I can put it all up in one piece, and that makes it a world of difference, not having to mess with bolts and stuff with it up in the car. So all right, I'm gonna get that together. See if I can do this without making a mess. All right, that pump is pointed off this direction. Up there. Already dripping. Shoot. That was easy enough. Not gonna be mad at that at all. She is all the way in. All right, let's get this thing on. About that time of the year, breaking the hoodies out. I love it. All right, got that snugged up. Everything's balanced out good. Be ready to stick that dude in a minute. All right, the trainee's in. I do have to go get some longer bolts for my little adapter here. But other than that, I've got a lot of little stuff to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill the camera and do this thing, and we'll be back. All right, well, we've got a lot of it bolted up. And I like to kick my own butt right now because I didn't put the dipstick tube in. And there's not a lot of room in this thing. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it in there or not. Got somebody out here driving around in my pasture. Get them mama pulling pager here. You know we shoot trespassers around here, right?
We shoot back.
Yeah.
It's a Chevy, we can outrun them bullets.
So what are we doing with the Nova now?
It's going to Iowa.
Iowa? You're gonna go all the way to Iowa?
You're getting paid to do it.
I know. Well, you said like what, 500 bucks?
$500 take it up there.
Man, you got a vacation.
Plus asking price.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, somebody wanted this bad.
Yep. So I wasn't going to complain.
No? You go up that way, you can stop off and see some other people. Well, like you said, it just takes the right person to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really what it was.
Yeah.
Apparently the guy looked at it a while back before I took the listing down.
Yeah.
And was going to mess it then, and then the listing went away. So he thought it was gone.
He panicked, huh?
Yeah.
He pulled the old slip and slide on him.
Yep. And then it came back up again, and he reached out.
Sweet.
Okay.
Can't beat the whole asking price.
Yeah.
Oh.
I sent him like 60 photos. I was like, no surprises. If I'm
Yeah.
coming that far, it's not coming back with
So
me.
when are you making this trip?
Saturday.
Saturday, huh?
It's gonna be a long day.
It's almost like a race week trip. They ain't gonna have no sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
No sleep.
Oh, all right. Well, let's get this thing loaded. Yeah, and don't come back.
I know it. Just try not to wing us next time.
All right, well, you guys be safe on your trip and bring back a transmission or something.
We're gonna try.
Yeah.
Now, I expect that to be race ready in 2 weeks.
Oh, that'll be race ready by tonight, probably.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Yes, sir.
Will do. Everybody needs a little project like that. That one is going to Iowa, I think they said. So more money for them for car parts. Back to the car. I sort of got the dipstick up in there. I just got to get it worked over into the hole and try and tap that dude back in there, and hopefully it seals without any problems. I put a bunch of goo on it with the O-ring. So I'm gonna try and get that done real quick. Okay, I think I got it. So tragedy diverted there. I was really worried about having to pull all that crap back out. But it looks like we are seated, siliconed, and good to go. All right, I think it's time for a drive shaft. All right, so we got the new spacer in here. Like I said, but I probably said before, but this was a brand new Turbo 400 for Camaro and Chevy 2 Novas, and it's a direct bolt in, but I never could get the tranny high enough, so I would stack washers here. Well, instead of doing that, phone's gonna beep at me, I just made a 1-inch adapter, capped the ends of it, and drilled it so I had some movement in it back and forth, and I think that's gonna work. I need to drop the car down, put the rear end on jack stands, front tire on blocks, and make sure what my angles are. I might have to change my drive shaft loop. Don't know if you can see well over there, but basically I got a finger above that. But it takes a lot for that drive shaft to move to take up an inch, but my luck, it'll hit. So the only thing I don't have hooked up yet is the exhaust. I'm gonna leave that off because I want to get the car on the ground. And then I'm also have I kind of took some notes off of 10 Soldiers when they're helping some other guys. This is a 6.5 inch travel shock, and I'm running a 14 inch spring. It's 130 pounds. I ordered some 14 inch 110 pound springs, and so I want to try these out, but I want to get everything back to zero the way I had it before I change shocks, and before I start worrying about driveline angles and stuff like that. But we're gonna try a longer spring, a little more stored energy with the longer spring, lighter weight. So I'm hoping to get a little bit a better result out of that. And I don't know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll put the other springs back in it. So I'm gonna get this thing on the ground and see what that did to my driveline angles. Okay, well, let me show you how I am checking my driveline straightness. I bought this I don't know, a year or so ago, but this is an Amazon laser, like what you would use for, I don't know, drywall guys, cabinet guys, whatever. But what I do is I use it to make sure my rear end's straight and everything else is lining up, straight line on the motor, nothing goofy. This is what I do with this. Let me blind my eyes so I don't blind us. If you can see the line, maybe really hard to see, but I can go off the crank position on the center of the bolt of the crank, down through the transmission, all the way to the rear end and the pinion yoke. So basically, what I'm lining up is the pinion nut on the rear end to the crank bolt up here in front of the motor. Now I'll go slide him to the other side and show you what it looks like from down there. You'll probably be able to see it a little bit better since it's darker under the car. See if I can get under here. Now this was like a $50 laser off of Amazon, so by far worth the money. So as you can see here, that laser is right in the center of where that pinion nut is, right there. And you can follow it all the way up the drive shaft to the center of that U-joint cap, all the way to the front of the motor, and we are as straight as you can get it. So anyway, happy with that. The only thing I have left to do really is put the exhaust back on it and then fill it full of fluid. But I am going to change my springs. I want to go ahead and change these springs out and see if that makes a difference, and I don't know, see what it does. All right, we're going to start getting the coilovers off the car. I got a little ahead of myself before I turned the camera on, but I've got the rears off here and here, so I just have to get them off up in the coil pockets right there and right there. A little hard to see in here, so I'm going to drop these off real quick and then we'll get back to it. Oh, come on. Come on. All right, so I've got to get this bolt out without leaving the offset washers, because I about messed up on the first ones and they went for a ride and took me everywhere. Oh, there's one, there's two. Oh, at least they both, all right. At least they both fell together. So I'm gonna put those on the bolt and save those. And we've got the springs off. Okay, so with the coilover off, this is a 12-inch spring, this is a 14-inch spring. So you can see we're a little longer there. And but this is a lighter coil spring, so it will, and I got all kinds of shadows going on here, don't I? So anyway, this will actually compress more than this will. So we'll get the same ride height, just a little bit of adjustability. And then, but we will have more unsprung rate. So we'll get to these in a bit. Time for dinner. Okay, it's time to swap springs over. I took a minute and had to figure out a way to get that 14-inch spring on this shock. So I kind of planned it out before I experimented, and now I know how to do it. So we're going to get these spanner nuts backed off and get this spring off and clean this dude up and swap springs. All right, and of course I can't find my spanner wrench anywhere, so we're going to throw a bolt in here. Get my knobs up so I don't mess those up. And we're going to back this thing up without trying to tear them up too much to get the tension off of this spring. And then we have to use the bend of the press to get the new springs on. So it took me a minute to do some figuring and some rigging, but I got it done. But I would like to know where my spanner wrench is. I don't like scratching these up any more than I have to. About there. There we go. Get all that tension off of that. And with these, I need to set those spanner nuts all the way down to get them to where the new springs will go on. All right. Once that pressure's off, we just release the ring and off we go. Like that. Off with the old spring. And where'd my rag go? All right. Get these all cleaned up, get the exhaust and the E85 and whatever oil's blowing around in there off. Good thing is, I know my shocks have not been bottoming out because my O-ring's still there. One trick if you're worried about your travel, take your bumper or your O-ring, lower it down if you're worried about your springs over compressing, and of course that O-ring will stop wherever you're limiting your spring out. So other than that easy. All right, let's go rig my contraction up on the press over here. Okay, I got my new spring, my retainer. Now, as you can see, let me find my numbers here because I always put numbers right side up. It's just the OCD in me. All right, so we're gonna drop that one all the way down, and you can see we're not reaching the top. So I have to press this down because I've tried a dozen ways to try and do it by hand and it ain't happening. So what I've got here, I'm going to use a pinion bearing tool and leave it to where it's just wide enough to hold on the outside of these springs. We're just holding the springs on. All right. So I've got that on there, just wide enough to hold the springs. Drop that in there. Make sure everything is out of the way. And I'm going to press this down with the press. Press the press until I can reach enough shaft out of there to drop that pinion in there, to drop that keeper in there. Now I got to find all my stuff up here I had rigged up to do this. One paint stick. 2x2 piece of steel. Just enough to keep me from scratching up my my shock here. Get it a little more. Where'd my handle go? Alright, oh, right in front of me. Just about got bit. Alright. Get this squared up. Alright, get that lined up in there so it doesn't try and jump off on me. Alright, that looks good enough. We'll see if it doesn't bite my fingers off. Close. Take the pressure off. Now, just need to loosen these off, which they're actually doing pretty good now. And we'll knock this off. Then our springs are good. Need a wrench for that one. There we go. Done. All right, springs are done. Now we just need to get it back on the car, set it down on the ground. We'll see if I made the right spring rate guess. All right, it's a fight to get these little offset washers in there, but just patience, and if you drop it, listen and find out where it goes. Oh. Found it. Just like that. It'll take a second. All right, let me find the rest of the brackets now. All right, those are tight. Only way I know to check, put it on the ground, and let's see what that did for ride height, and then we'll adjust it from there and see what we come up with. Roll this dude out of the way. Really close to what it used to. If not, maybe a little bit lower than what we had before. Riding right on the top of the tire. My measurement from the shock mounts instead of here, that I think I'm like an inch lower than I was before. Make sure everything is off. Now I gotta climb under there and see how much stroke I got left on those shocks. Let me find my tape measure. One of those. Probably shine my super sun bright light underneath there. So I'm gonna have to get on my back in this nice white t-shirt and see what we got. Okay. How much? Okay, so we need to crank it up some. I can see about 2 inches of shock maybe. It's 2 inches. And it might be all right. I think I'm gonna crank it up a 1/2 inch because they're 5-inch strokes. That'll put us in the middle. So let's raise it back up and crank them up just a little bit. Like how I got 2 pair of glasses today. Just keep, every once in a while I just find all of them. I have got this one, that's probably 1/4 of an inch. Right at 1/4. So I'm gonna raise both of those up about that far. I may take just a little bit more, just because it's one way or another, you're either going to be too much or not enough. So I may give it a couple more turns, put it back on the ground and see how I like that. Got everything lined out on the suspension as far as I can tell till I drive the thing. Now I've got to work on correcting my hot side. Because this thing, the turbo, is of course mounted solid right up in here. And it connects to the exhaust manifold, the hooker manifold's right there. So this thing right here will straight up hold the motor up. So now that I've corrected the driveline angles and made those changes, this is how much I need to add to my hot side. So I'm gonna have to weld this up, get some good spot welds on it, and put some filler in there and then clean this up, and then we're almost ready for the road. So I'm going to drag all the welders and everything out and zap this thing together and get this thing about wrapped up, ready to drive. All right, I'm betting all these dingleberries go down my shoes. I hate welding the shorts on, but it's just time to get it done. And so over here working, cutting a sliver so we can weld in between that gap. So we'll give it about another 2 minutes, and we'll have the piece we need to extend this hot side right there. That's how wide we need to make that. So my GoPro shut off. Go figure on some of that stuff. But anyway, we got the pipe back in here. I basically took and filled that gap with a sliver that I cut off with a bandsaw. And it's not pretty, but I've redone it like 3 times, so the 4th time it's probably going to get a brand new one. But it is all hooked up, sealed up, ready to go. Man, I'm like down to putting transmission fluid in this thing and put it in gear, so we are that close. I'm pretty happy with the way it's setting with the coilovers. I think it's I don't know, maybe an inch lower than it was before, but I'm gonna go drive it and see how it likes it. And if I need to, I'll crank it up a little bit more. So we get the thing back on the ground, probably put some fluid in it, and it's almost 9:30, so I probably won't do nothing tonight. It's been raining for about 3 hours, 4 hours, so I can't go drive it. Oh, I forgot something. Crossover tube. I was almost done. So anyway, let me put the crossover on the manifolds, and then I'm done. So crossover pipe's done. So I did a once over everything else. Everything looks good. Wires are all the way from the exhaust. Everything's buttoned up. I think that's really about it. The only thing I'm going to have to check on is on my drive shaft loop here. I can put my hand and my fingers between there, which that would have to move like 6 inches for this to move a 1/2 inch. So I think it'll be okay. Only a test drive will tell me. So I'm going to drop this thing down, put training fluid in it. Boys are racing this weekend, so it's going to be Monday, Tuesday before I can even drive the thing. So we'll get it on the ground, get it ready. And oh yeah, black powder season starts for all you deer hunters next week. So actually starts this coming Saturday. And I'll be off hunting all weekend with my dad. So we'll see you guys later. Bye.